Hello and welcome to Precon Decon, the video series where normally I deconstruct the pre-constructed decks of Magic the Gathering's history. However, as I am still currently working on recording the Planeswalker decks video, we're having a bit of a content drought at the moment here on the channel. So I thought, I haven't done a trash talk video in a while, so I thought I'd just do another kind of quick little video, just to kind of keep you tied over until those Planeswalker decks videos start dropping, which will hopefully be in the new year. Pretty soon. So I've got to work through them all. But it's the holiday season, which is kind of why those those videos are taking me a long time to put together. Just because there's a lot of kind of social obligations. It's getting to that time of year where everyone wants to cram everything into the weekends. So kind of hard to find like some spare time to sit down and actually do some recording. But my wife and I were putting our Christmas tree up yesterday, and it got me thinking about my particular favourite Christmas tree from Magic the Gathering, which is Mirrorwood Treefolk, which is an old card back from the Planeshift set. So Mirrorwood Treefolk is 4 mana 2/4, has an ability where you can play 2 cards that run white, and the next time it would take damage this turn, it gets bounced onto another creature or player instead, which is it's a fun ability, but obviously it's a bit awkward because this is only working a 3-color deck. But yeah, it's a pretty fun card, and I had kind of a couple of copies of it in my collection for ages. And it never really got any use because I didn't really used to play 3-color decks. It's kind of just a weird one-off card. Couldn't think of a reason to use it. But cast your mind back to 2006. Those of you who are alive in 2006. So Twitter had just been launched. Italy had just won the World Cup, and Pluto had been declassified as a planet. But perhaps more relevant to this video was that Cold Snap was released, and this was a if you haven't seen my videos on the Cold Snap intro decks, definitely go and look at those, because Cold Snap's a weird little set. It was basically a sort of a official kind of sequel to the original Ice Age block, which is like a really old set from Magic the Gathering's history, and they sort of continued the theme of it by having sort of cards that cared about snow-covered permanents, and we get snow. It's shown up in modern Magic enough. Like it's been in a Modern Horizon set, it was in Kaldheim, but Cold Snap was when they really sort of like explored using snow as like this kind of mechanic. So we had creatures that cared about snow-covered lands interacting with them, and like snow permanents. You had removal spells that cared about again interacting with like snow and non-snow creatures. You had snow creatures. Say like the Orin Yeti here, which is a snow creature, and you also had snow mana, which was any mana that could be paid from any snow permanent. So it opened up kind of a lot of things. And a real shame I always thought about Cold Snap is that it was a small set, so it didn't really have enough room to explore. I think something which I think could have been really interesting. But one of the most interesting cards that came out of Cold Snap, I think, was Skred, and this is like quite a notorious card. So it's a really good burn spell. It wasn't in any of the precons, so I didn't really get to talk about it at all. But for a single red mana, it's an instant. It does damage to target creature equal to the number of snow permanents you control. And considering you can have snow-covered lands, snow creatures, other snow permanents, this can do like a huge amount of damage for only a single red mana, so it's a very efficient piece of burn, but it can't hit players. That's kind of the one downside. I suppose that's how it balances out, unless you have a Mirrorwood Treefolk, because then you can aim a Skred at your own Mirrorwood Treefolk, bounce the damage onto opponent, and do a ton of damage for only 5 mana. So, and this is a deck I put together back in the day. It made me dig out my Mirrorwood Treefolk, and I built a sort of like a Naya coloured, essentially a Christmas deck, a Christmas themed deck, because red, white, and green, those are the Christmas colours. And also, I had a blue and black snow deck as well. It's just like, I want to use the other 3 colours for a snow deck as well, because the OCD goblin in my brain wants like, I've got to make sure all the colours are equally represented in my decks, which is still something that carries on today. So this snow deck, I don't remember the deck list exactly, but it was basically as many snow permanents I could cram into it. So we had snow-covered basic lands, we had the dual lands, we had snow creatures like Boreal Druid, Carplus and Wolverine, Squall Drifter particularly good because it could sort of like lock down the board early on, but with its tap effect. Shame with Gelid Shackles, this is essentially like a pacifism effect, but it's still like a snow permanent, and all that would eventually build up to a Mirrorwood Tree Folk, and then I'd draw a Scred, aim the Scred at the Mirrorwood Tree Folk, bounce that damage onto the opponent, and that would be game. If that didn't happen, didn't really have a backup plan because the rest of the deck was kind of small, kind of not great snow creatures. Had a few Darker Valkyries actually, from what I remember. So that was the sort of the backup plan, was a Darker Valkyrie. But yeah, really it was all focusing on this kind of Scred Mirrorwood Tree Folk, very janky combo. But I did win a few games from it, which was very, very enjoyable. And then after this, we had the Time Spiral block, and that gave me kind of like some more ingredients essentially for that deck. So you had Stuffy Doll, which has like this built-in retaliation effect. You don't have to spend mana to it, but it's still 5 mana, so it still sort of essentially works out the same. But yeah, you can aim Scred at the Stuffy Doll, and the bonus being, if you don't have Scred, it can at least kind of damage itself or block and kind of transfer that damage. And also Shivan Meteor in in the next after that, Plane of Chaos. Again, it's a big burn spell, can only hit creatures, but again, you load this up, you can potentially suspend it or do it. You want to suspend it because otherwise to bounce off Mirrorwood Tree Folk in the same turn is going to take 9 mana. So ideally suspend this and then bounce it off Mirrorwood Tree Folk again. That's 13 damage. And really, over the years, it became a kind of a Ship of Theseus kind of thing, where this kind of deck eventually dropped kind of like the snow elements and the Scred, and sort of became a different deck where it was all like these red retaliation creatures. So stuff like Mogmaniac, which is a fantastic creature. I really, really wish this gets reprinted in a modern frame sometime. I'd love to have Mogmaniac in a modern frame. But also stuff like Spite Mare from Shadowmoor, or no, Eventide technically, which is again like a creature I really, really like because it has this retaliation ability. And like a load of global burn effects like Bloodfire Colossus, which like it burns the whole board, but I've got creatures that don't like being hit and do extra damage. So yeah, it was a really fun deck. It sort of grew from that original like Christmas tree deck with Mirrorwood Tree Folk and became a red burn deck. But I had a really, really good time with Mirrorwood Tree Folk and Scred, the Christmas tree snowball fight deck I used to call it. But yeah, it's just putting up the tree yesterday reminded me of that, and I thought, oh, that'd be fun to maybe talk about in a quick little video. So I would love to hear about other janky combos you've done. If you want to stick a comment below about a really janky combo deck you've done using like cards that typically get overlooked or aren't that popular. I'd love to hear about them. And also, I'd like to know if you liked this kind of video. I mean, it's very short and it's very quick to the point. It's ultimately like kind of a bit of a cool story, bro. But I don't know, just want to talk about a janky old combo deck that I built ages ago, and just wanted to talk about it just in a video, just to tide you over for those Planeswalker decks. They will be coming in the new year. Just got to sit down and power through them and record them. But they are going quite well. They are going okay at the moment. I think I'm up to I'm just about to start doing the Amon Ket decks at time of recording. So yeah, should have a good backlog of them there, and then I'll start uploading them. But anyway, that's that. Stick a janky combo you've got below in a comment, and I'll give it a read. And yeah, that'll be great. But until then, thanks for watching and listening, and have a great day.